Hello and welcome to the Patron Saints of Pop Culture podcast. As always, I am your co-saint, Miguel Covarrubias.
And I'm Kathy Covarrubias. And today, let's talk about the importance of pop culture at a time like this.
Well, I did write a shorter title in there, but, we're going to go with that.
I didn't realize that that's what you meant.
Yes, sorry.
He wrote above there, self-care and pop culture.
Self-care and pop culture, basically, is what I was getting at.
If I had known that, that's what I have said. But now you know both titles, everybody.
There you go. So this is going to be a little bit of a meta episode where we're not going to be pulling out really kind of moral philosophy points out of pop culture. We're not going to overanalyze any particular piece.
Nope.
Instead, we're going to be talking about the importance of pop culture in our lives and how it does add to our own moral philosophy, as it were. So we're going to be talking more about why we do this. So
yeah.
And speaking of why we're doing this because this week we kind of...
It's been, well, not just this week.
Yeah.
For the past couple of weeks, the news in general has just been extremely draining.
Yes.
Both like mentally, emotionally, not so much physically because it's not like I'm running or anything like that. But it feels physically almost.
As we'll talk about here in a minute, it does add to like a physical element of it. It does add stress, and stress does translate into physical ailments. So, we carry our stress in different ways. And if you've ever gone to a massage therapist, they'll tell you, you're carrying your stress up in your shoulders.
Oh, yes. Oh, I feel this knot right here. What are you worrying about?
Yes.
All that kinds of stuff.
And almost what is that thing where they measured the head and like there were different things in the head, the bumps in your head?
What?
What is it called? The phrenetics?
The thing that's not a real thing?
Yeah. Anyway, I'm sure that you've seen by now the emergency on the southern border, this kind of crisis that is going on in this time in American history. And, we really couldn't bring ourselves to really pull like big moral philosophy moments out of anything this week. We needed really to take time to just enjoy something.
Yeah. And we watched a couple of different things too, and still we just we can't do it.
Yeah, the Disaster Artist. We watched the Disaster Artist, and granted, I'm guessing we can pull something from that, always go after your dream or something.
Don't judge a book by its cover, or ask somebody where they're from or where they got their money.
Stranger danger doesn't apply to people who are going to write and direct and pay you to do his own film.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. So then we tried another movie today, and we just ended up enjoying it. It was a heist movie. If you have not seen it yet, Logan Lucky. It's a kind of just a fun heist movie.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot. It's jam-packed full of stars.
Yeah.
Which I didn't realize at the beginning. But yeah, it was a lot of fun.
It's got James Bond and Kylo Ren and Magic Mike in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all of those characters.
And
with those exact same names.
Rachel Dawes from the original Batman Christopher Nolan reboot. Which, I'm glad that she was replaced.
I'm shaking my head right now. I'm saying you can stop now, honey.
Okay. So really what we wanted to talk about today was this problem that's currently going on, and how it really is affecting all of us, and how pop culture is really important, especially in this time, because as I've said before, is that pop culture really is a mirror. It's both a mirror and a stepping point for us as a society. And so I really think that it's important for all of us to understand some of these things about caregivers, especially because I think in this time, with what's going on, and I'm not going to go into the details of what's going on because I'm sure that everybody knows. And if I reiterate a lot of it, I know it's gonna take me back into the place where I have been over the past week or so, which is that I am just absolutely devastated. I'm devastated by just for the sheer fact that I'm Latino, and I'm just kind of terrified about what's going on. I'm terrified of being taken away from my own family.
You don't have to go too much more in detail, honey.
Yeah. So, what I mean is that it's important for us to understand what caregivers go through, and we're going to talk about a little bit of compassion fatigue and a little bit of imposter syndrome right now.
Yeah.
But I really wanted to go into this because I really think that we are all sort of, in a sense, a triage caregivers because of social media. I think social media has turned us into caregivers for our immediate family and friends.
Yeah.
For all of our followers, for all of our, we all have this kind of idea of what people expect us to be. And we either get some imposter syndrome for that, or, we do some compassion fatigue because of other people who are caring so much.
Or there's the fact, too, of, also getting surprised by some of the reactions that you didn't expect from other people, like the negative reactions. And that's also taking a toll, too. Especially with me, I'm just why would you... I wouldn't imagine you to say that. Why do you say that? And having to realize that, there is that dark side to people just, really got to me, especially this week.
Well, this is especially has been a psychological trauma in caregivers over the years. And this is something that I wanted to bring up today because I think that we are all in effect, a caregiver for somebody else. Mm-hmm. And especially during this time, we have this extreme compassion for those who are going through such horrible, horrible things. And I mean, it's our own country. We're responsible for it. Mm-hmm. That's kind of what we've been taught since a very early age in America is that, you're responsible for whatever this country does because it's your country.
Yep. You voted for these people.
Yeah.
Which I did not vote for them. I voted for other people. But anyway.
Yeah, we did. But it's still our responsibility because that's what a democracy is that we are the ones who are responsible for taking care of what it is that we have, our country. That's the way it's set up. We pay our taxes and the taxes pay for our government officials and all this other stuff. Mm-hmm. So, in effect, we are the ones that are responsible. So bringing up compassion fatigue. If you don't know what compassion fatigue is, it's kind of a secondary trauma response. It's like post-traumatic stress disorder, but for somebody who didn't actually go through the traumatic, stressing situation.
Yes. So one example would be a therapist who works with people who fought in Iraq and they come back and they're helping them cope with their PTSD and other symptoms. And then as a result, they start feeling almost the same trauma as their patients do.
And this is very much hinging on our culture because, not just our culture, but our entire way that we deal with things is we deal through things with stories. And so narrative is very important to us, especially when you're just listening to somebody or you're reading a story or you're thinking up something to write or something.
Yeah.
You're putting your mind in that place where that's what compassion is. You're putting yourself in that place of somebody else. Mm-hmm. You're taking a walk in somebody else's shoes.
And that that kind of stuff really changes you, actually changes you, not just I don't know, on the surface level, I was changed by this experience, but more like the way your brain is works is changed.
Well, yeah, especially when you watch certain things or certain movies. There are certain movies that when you when you're really engrossed in the movie, when you're really connected to a character, that when a character goes through something, that when they go through a growth process, it does something to you. Like you yourself kind of think about, what would I do in that situation? Would I do the same thing that this character did? Would I get mad at that person? Take, for instance, Cargo last week. We talked a lot about this. We talked a lot about what I would do if I was bitten and trying to make sure that Peter was taken care of.
Yeah.
And for me, I mean, that's in a sense, it did change me as well. It changed me to try to think about what I would do in that situation. And I really, it's a really just kind of rewires the brain. That's the way that our brain is set up. Our brain is set up to learn through stories. I mean, we see this through, like, Jesus, for instance. What are some other instances where, like, we learn through story? Because I'm not really, like, drawing a blank right now.
Oh, well, I mean, going back to my, obvious Kathy answer, but I'm, like, still convinced that, like, Harry Potter, like, and everybody who's in the Harry Potter community, because it really is a community, especially those of us who have stayed fans, like, from when we were kids all the way up to adulthood. I guess it's multiple adulthoods because there's more than me. But anyway, I honestly feel like the Harry Potter universe made me become the feminist and the social, like, I don't want to say
socially concerned.
Yeah, socially concerned individual that I am.
There you go.
Yep. It's all because of Spew.
All because of Spew.
Yeah.
Well, and that was the great thing about Hermione, was that she cared that much, even for the people, even for the beings that nobody else really cared for.
Yeah, like the beings that, I mean, everybody thought, well, they love to do that stuff. Like, why are
took
you
them for granted?
Yeah. Well, the house elves, like, most of them, like, really truly did like what they did, and they thought this was their purpose. So that's why it was so devastating to Winky when she was fired. I gotta stop myself, or else I'm just gonna keep going on and on about house elves. I could have a whole podcast about
house elves.
I really could.
We'll call Harry Potter and the Sacred Text to see if they can do a spin-off show about house elves and Spew.
Yep. It would only
there may already be a podcast out there that is that. So
yes, but anyway, it has a whole lot of other, like, social, like history context involved in there too, like with slaves and that kind of stuff. But again, I'm not going to go into it. But anyway, so Harry Potter rewired my brain.
and that's the thing, is that especially when you're going through something like this, it does add stress to your life. And when your brain is rewiring itself, it does tell your body, hey, I'm going through something right now. Mm-hmm. And your body really begins to deal with that in the stress responses. Mm-hmm. The stress responses, I mean, you can tell this in yourself. Everybody's different. For me, it's my shoulders tense up, and I don't know how to untense my shoulders. But I feel it. Like at the end of the day, I feel it like the weight of the world is on my shoulders, and I get that idiom because it's true for me. Is that's where I carry it all.
Yeah,
I carry everything up there, and for me, it's also that, I want to talk. I just want to rage at people. I just want to do all this other things, and this is really just, in a sense, for me, is recognizing when this is happening. Is this is in a sense when I realize that I'm done, that I'm poured out, I'm empty, that there's no more of me to give. Especially these past few weeks and these stories is just, it's draining for me. I really can't. It broke me earlier this week. I was reading a story of a mother separated from her son, and they showed a picture of the son in the article, and the son's smile was just like our son's. It was just like Peter's, and it broke me. Like I was at work while I was reading this article, and like I'm trying to not visibly weep in front of my coworkers, but still like trying to be professional. And that's the thing, is that I think we all just kind of get to that point where it's like we know when we need to step away, and whether or not we recognize it is an important thing. Is that we need to realize when it is that we need to just stop.
Oh yeah, for me, like. In general, just stress in general, like not because of any like compassion fatigue or anything, just stress in general. I have digestive issues, and I get like really, really bad lower back pain, like to the point to where like I can't do anything. When it comes more specifically to compassion fatigue, I like get to this point where I just don't care. Like, I don't care about your problems. Like, you should have thought about that, which is totally not me. Like, I'm not like that. But I do get to the point, and I notice it more at work than anything because, I mean,
yeah,
that's where I spend most of my waking hours.
Well, because we are in a sense caregivers. We're, we're kind of the front lines for caring for customers.
Well, we are the customer care.
Yeah, exactly.
We're on the customer care team. So.
Exactly.
And there's times like that where I'm just like, whoa, like, okay, like I need to do something. Like, usually that is me like taking off work a little early because I just like, if I'm staying there, it's just going to get worse and I know it. But a lot of people don't recognize that is like what they're experiencing, like why they're feeling that way is because of the compassion fatigue.
Exactly. And that's the thing, is recognizing it in yourself is something that we can't tell you. We can't tell you what it's going to be because for everybody it's going to be a different response. Mm-hmm. But it's what we can say is it's at that point where you feel like you can't take it anymore. And even then that may be too late.
Yeah.
But it's still ways that you need to, it's still a time when you can recognize that you need to take a step back. You need to take a break, that you need to just do what you need to do you. You do you, as it were. Live your authentic truth.
Oh, my Lanta.
Sorry. I've been watching the most recent season of Portlandia this week as well, and so that was one that was just insane. And I love how they kind of take those, like, the like really hipster and the liberals to the ridiculous point.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I love about the show, is that it's
because we can laugh at ourselves.
Yeah, we can laugh at
ourselves.
ourselves.
We are hipsters and liberals.
Exactly. And we want to talk about imposter syndrome a little bit too, because I think this plays a lot into it. Is that if you're unaware, imposter syndrome I think affects pretty much like 100% of the population.
Oh yeah.
Is that all of us? Unless you're a narcissist, of course, but all of us.
That's another issue.
Yeah, that's a completely other issue. But all of us kind of have this idea that we just don't fit. Like we can't really rise to the occasion.
Yeah.
Like we see all these people who are heralded and like lauded over and we compare ourselves to them. We think, oh, they can't possibly be like us. Like there's no way I could ever be like that person, or there's no way that I can ever be this, and that I feel like an imposter in my own job, or whatever it is. And the truth is, I mean, this is something that even like for centuries, pretty much since all of human history, is that we've gotten this idea that there are those others that are above us, and that we are unworthy. We are unworthy to tie their shoes or whatever. But and I think this goes back to an expression that we really need to buy the book that has this expression in it. Mm-hmm. Is that everyone poops.
Yep.
Everybody poops.
Well, and me for the unworthiness, what that means to me is like, for example, there's a position that I was going up for. And I was like, well, I don't know. Like, I don't think I'm not qualified for it, blah, 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 blah. But a lot of my friends who were already in that position were like, oh no, go ahead, do it. Like, you can do it. And I'm just like, I don't know. Like, whoa, guys, like, do you know who I am? Because are you sure you're talking about this Kathy? Because a lot of the times you kind of downplay yourself as well too. Like I see my friends as being on this next like pedestal above me compared to me, which may not be the case. And a lot of times isn't the case. Mm-hmm. And so to me, that's what unworthiness means.
Well, and I think this is in a sense that we've talked about before a few weeks ago with this idea of in evangelism, in evangelicalism of Christianity was that, there's this whole idea of being taught that everyone's bad. And I think this is why I said I think it affects like 100% of the population is that, we've got this idea that we're bad. We're not worthy of any of the stuff this plays into the compassion fatigue as well, is that we don't feel worthy of our own self-care, that we justify this destructive behavior, the self-destructive behavior, because we feel like we're bad.
Yep.
And that we should be going through these horrible things,
and that we're selfish for doing the self-care.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it's almost as if we're getting these invisible badges, as it were, is saying, "Oh, I suffered through this, and look at me now. I'm a little bit more worthy now because I did this or whatever." And this adds to the compassion fatigue as well, because we justify these self-destructive behaviors through those badges that we give ourselves. Mm-hmm. Like you, is that saying that, oh, I can't possibly do that because, I'm not like my friend.
Yeah.
And, it's like, okay, then, maybe you just haven't had the training yet. You haven't even tried yet, and.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, my self-destructive behavior is a lot of the times, I will just stop myself from trying. Because I automatically assume I'm not going to get it.
Yeah.
So then I don't try. Because then I'm like, if I don't try, then it's not losing because I didn't go for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's this weird self-fulfilling
prophecy.
Yes, self-fulfilling prophecy. There you go.
So we've talked a lot about the problem. What about the solution? While we've already, kind of talked about that a little bit, is that self-care is a very important thing. And, why do we need to do self-care? Why do we need to take care of ourselves first? Well,
why do we need to put on our own masks before putting on the masks of our children in an airplane?
Yeah, exactly. Is because you can't give what you don't have. Mm-hmm. I mean, science says it's great. I mean, we are going to list our sources for a lot of this stuff. We did kind of do watch a lot of TED Talks. We watched a few videos on YouTube and stuff like this. Is that it just in no way makes us experts at all, but it helps us to learn more about the topic that we're talking about today.
Yeah.
But there are some of these that really kind of cite their sources that science says it's good.
Yeah, science says it's good for you to take care of yourself, which makes sense.
Yeah, one of these videos was a TED Talk from this woman who was a animal shelter specialist.
She worked for an animal shelter as like a coordinator or director, and then she also worked for a Ronald McDonald House as well too, like organizing stays for sick children. Yeah. So she went from like fatigue from working with like sick and wounded animals to the fatigue of working with sick and wounded children.
Yeah. And she shared this quote, which I love, from Marcus Valerius Marshall. Says that life is not merely to be alive, but to be well. She also said that healing is an inside job. And I really resonated with that because I think that it is. It very much is. It's on you because you know what you're going through. You know what, you know what your stressors are. You know what the signs are to say that you're stressed, and you're the only one that can say what fills you with life.
Yeah.
And I think that, that's what I was trying to get at earlier was that it may be too late when you see all of those signs of compassion fatigue, because the time really is now. It's before it gets too bad, where you can't find your own way out, because, that in itself can get to be rather expensive. You can get into these self-destructive spirals that really aren't very good for you.
Yeah. And sometimes, like, the way we feel like we're self-caring is not self-caring.
Yeah. We self-medicate as a culture. I'm sure that stocks and alcohol sales were way up this week. And I mean, we do all these sorts of things to really self-medicate ourselves, and some of them are very unhealthy. There are some which aren't. Like
exercise?
Yeah, exercise.
Like exercise is great. Making your own healthy meals at home is what some people do.
Well, get into the what of that here in a
little
bit.
Sorry, I don't want to spoil it for anybody.
But this is something that this is when you need to do it is now. But also, like, you need to set a plan for the future, because if you don't make yourself a priority, you're never going to do it. You're not going to have any follow-up to it.
Like me?
Yeah. Yeah, like you.
Like, I'm pretty notorious.
Point my finger at you.
No, but at least I acknowledge it, right? That's important. So my problem is that on the times that I know I need self-care, and I'm like, I'm going to set some time for myself, I would say a good 90% of the time, I end up still doing stuff not for me. So, like, if I have a day off and I know I'm going to have, like, some time for myself, instead of, taking a relaxing bath or watching a show that I meant to watch or playing some video games, instead I'll clean the house, which is not for me. I'm doing it because I feel like it needs to be done and it's a chore. So it's not really self-care.
Yeah. And I think it's really important that you really make a self-care plan. Pencil yourself into your own schedule. Make yourself, a schedule and say, okay, these 10 minutes, that's me. I'm going to be doing me stuff. And we'll talk about what it is, and we're going to get finally to why pop culture is important. But just take that 10 minutes and schedule it for you. Do something for you, and however long that it needs to be for you, that's however long it needs to be for you. Mm-hmm. If it's not enough, if you've been doing it for like a week or so and you realize it's not enough, then schedule more time for you.
Yeah. Adjust it. I mean, if you know that if you're having a tougher week, then increase it. Or if the week has been, fine and you're not stressed at all and it's, just whatever, go ahead and decrease it. You know yourself the best.
Yeah. One of the other things that that one TED Talk I absolutely loved, what she had to say was, she said, self-care is about bringing in the boundaries. Is that we have kind of really expanded our own self-boundaries to a point where it's not healthy. It includes everybody. Uh-huh. And we need to, kind of bring in our boundaries and say, okay, this is what I need to do for me. It's for me, and I shouldn't feel guilty about it because I'm important too. And, that's the way I end all of my blog posts, is that you're not alone. You matter. Is that both in that, yeah, your self-care shouldn't be the only thing in your life, but also you matter. You matter enough for that self-care. You need to make sure that you can give something that you have. You can't give what you don't have, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's so true. I mean, we know plenty of people who are just on the go, run, doing everything, and then they boast and complain about how they're constantly running and doing everything for everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
But they can take 10 minutes for themselves.
Oh, yeah.
They can.
Everybody can.
I almost feel like, I mean, you're right. It's part of American culture. Like, we almost take pride in the fact that we're stressed. We take pride in the fact that we're constantly on the go and busy. And it's not good. It's gotten us into a very unhealthy state.
And so we come finally to what? What should you do to do the self-care? What should you do in your 10 minutes to do you? You do you. And like I said before, it's up to you. I can't really say what gives you life because it's really your thing. If you love Star Trek, great. Watch some Star Trek. I did make a plan for myself a few years ago to watch every single live action episode of Star Trek. I have not yet gotten to Discovery. We'll get there, I'm sure, to be able to binge watch that. We've got a lot of other stuff on our plate right now, but we'll get there. But this is where the importance of pop culture comes in, is that not only is pop culture a mirror to ourselves, but pop culture is a chance for us to escape into other worlds. And this is the whole reason why we do the podcast is that we're bringing things from other worlds into our own world. And in and of itself, escaping to another world is a good thing. It's a good thing for you to be able to not just, take a look at what your life is from the outside, but also take a look at what you can add to your life. Mm-hmm. And this can be like anything. Anything can be pop culture. But like it's...
If you want to binge memes on the internet.
Exactly. And like video games, memes, like this is why like we use the term pop culture, because it's such a broad term. It is a broad term that encompasses almost
all popular culture.
All popular culture. It's culture. It's what what we consume as a society, and these are the worlds that have been created by other people that we can get lost in them, which is a good thing in and of itself. Mm-hmm.
And it's okay to go ahead and just watch something and just kind of turn your brain off. Like, that's fine too. Like, you don't have to sit down and like really immerse yourself into it. If you just want to watch it and just turn your brain off and just veg, that's perfectly fine too. Whatever you need to do at that time to make yourself feel better.
Yeah, like Logan Lucky, I can't tell you right now what the moral philosophy points of that movie were, but I had fun watching it.
I know. There was stuff when I was like, oh, I didn't realize. It's one of those movies that you didn't realize there's going to be twists.
Yeah. It's like, oh, yeah, nice. I didn't see that coming.
Nope.
There were a few things that I was actually surprised, a twist in.
But was it because we did turn off our brain?
Probably.
It could have been.
We weren't being our over-analyzing for other people's selves.
Yep.
And here's the thing, is that our own self-care is not going to look like your own self-care. For me, earlier this week, on Tuesday, I now have Tuesdays off, and where my son's at daycare, which, in and of itself, it's a good thing for me. Because taking care of a child is a really completely fulfilling thing, but it's also exhausting. And
especially when they're two.
Yeah. Is that for me, my own self-care was to sit in a very dark living room. I had all the shades drawn and was playing video games. And, that's something that I've done for a long time, like since my childhood, is that my family, we played video games together. I remember sitting there watching my brother play King's Quest on the computer. And that for me is a good memory, as I was the one that helped him figure out how to spell cupboard. And now I say it like that because it helps me to remember how to spell it. Cupboard. And, those text-based adventure games and stuff like that, those were things that we did together because, they helped to develop our brains and helped to develop, how we problem solved and all this other stuff. And so for me, My own self-care is like that, is sitting in a dark room and playing video games.
Oh, yeah. And we can, in our show notes, too, we'll go ahead and list some YouTube channels that give lists of different things you can do, but I can just spew some. Like,
well, the very first one in the playlist, which I mentioned earlier, is that How to Adult video. That, gives a good list of those, where Hank Green says that he's into cuddling.
Yeah. Also, too, what's something that's really big right now is the the adult coloring books, and I'm not talking about like X-rated coloring books. I'm talking about those
sexy coloring books.
I mean, if you want to do that, whatever.
Hey, you do you.
If it makes
live
you less
your authentic
stressed,
truth.
If you want to do that, go ahead. I'm talking about the ones that have the really detailed patterns.
The Mandelas.
Yeah, exactly. And so I actually have a coworker who, during stressful calls, she has her own coloring pencils, she has her coloring book, and she just sits there and she colors in it, when she's on stressful calls. And I'm just like, that's brilliant. I have a plant at work that I will snip some of his leaves if they're getting kind of weird, or, I take care of him during in between calls, or during some stressful calls. So, I mean, there's a lot of stuff. I mean, it doesn't have to be just sitting and vegging out and getting manicures, or having a, oh my gosh, I can't remember what that day is called, but it's from Parks and Rec.
Treat yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, treat yourself days are good days, but you don't have to spend money, is what I'm trying to say.
Whatever fills you with life, in other words, is that only you can say what fills you with life. Mm-hmm. And so that's why it's you do you.
Yes.
Yeah. So, basically, that was our discussion for today.
End scene.
Yeah, end scene. I hope this will inspire you to take care of yourself, because we really do care about you, our listeners. We really do care that you guys, take care of yourselves. And because if you don't listen to us, then what are we doing this for? So
we're doing it for ourselves, Miguel.
Yeah, it's our own self-care.
Yes.
Screaming into the void. I'm sure that the void is filling up rather quickly. Yeah, so this is what's coming up. We've got going on. We are finishing up Handmaid's Tale. Of course, we're going to be watching the season finale of Westworld tonight, which means that next week you'll hear our overanalyzing of Westworld Season 2.
Revenge of the Robots.
Revenge of the Robots. Then after that, we will be doing, what's his name? It's not Iron Fist. Why am I stuck on Iron Fist? I'm only thinking of Iron Fist. Luke Cage. We are going to be doing season 2
They're
of
the
Luke
exact
Cage.
opposite of each other too, Miguel.
My chi.
Oh, my Lanta.
So, we're going to be doing Luke Cage season 2. We are still watching Handmaid's Tale, which in and of itself is giving some people compassion fatigue. So, make sure you do not binge watch it if it does cause undue trauma to you. It is fantastic. It is shining a mirror on some of the darker things that are going on in our society right now. So, make sure you take care of yourself while you are watching that piece of pop culture.
I don't know how they do it, but the universe has lined up perfectly the news that comes out during the week and Handmaid's Tale.
I know. It's it's almost a perfect mirror, and they shoot months in advance. They had no idea this was going to happen. They didn't even know Donald Trump was going to win before season 1 was finished.
I know. I don't know. Like I said, the universe is just weird and just matched it up. And
yeah. So that will be coming, I'm sure, in 3 weeks. I'm pretty sure that they only have 2 or 3 episodes left. We are going to be doing The Magicians eventually. We're probably not going to do Portlandia. Like I said, that's something where you just turn your brain off for us. Where for me, that was Santa Clarita Diet, where I didn't want to overanalyze it, because when you overanalyze sitcoms, it kills them.
Which I'm just I want to so bad, because I think I just want another reason to watch it again.
Okay. So, with all of that being said, we invite you to take care of yourselves, please, and come and join the conversation.
Bye.